folks, welcome to the Blacksmith Shop. I'm Lin Rhea with the Historic Arkansas Museum. Today we're still working a little bit, inching right along on the spurs. So from time to time we have to make a tool. So today I'm going to forge a slot punch, and it's just a small one because a spur is not a very big object. I'm getting the piece hot, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I want to show you a set that Jimmy Worden made. These are some spurs that he made. I think he made those out of 3/4 inch square stock, mild steel, and the rowels are mild steel. But I want to call attention to this slot right here. This slot right here. That's the slot we're going to be making, except that's big. He made these really big. These are going to be working man's spurs, and I think he called this a dove wing pattern. This is the inside, that's outside of the boot. And of course, it's like that. The one we're making is a double slot. The strap goes in and back out and buckles. So there's so many different varieties of spurs, and I'm just kind of learning that. I'm certainly no expert on spurs, but what I want to be able to do is make with some sort of accuracy a variety of objects, and the spur is another object. It's interesting on its own. Anything to do with horses or cowboys or their equipment, their tack, that's all very interesting to me. But the forging process is what I really am interested in. So this is a tool that's going to help make spurs. So Blacksmith was constantly making tools. That's one of the biggest things he had to do was make tools. They may have been small, they may have been big. So let me get this piece hot. This is a piece of round stock, and it may not be the exact size that say you might need for this, but we're gonna get this piece hot. I'm gonna make what I think is a working slot punch for the size spur that we're gonna be making. So it's gonna be really small, really small. So we're gonna be putting 2 slots in that little small area right there, that little tab. So this is a very lightweight, very small, delicate, if you can use that term for something on your boot to work with a horse. It's a delicate, small, detailed spur. But then again, you're not likely to bend it, even though it's kind of small. So let's lay it back over there. We're not going to worry about punching slots with the tool. We're just going to make the tool. And I just kind of want to go through the motions. I want this to be really hot. Really, really hot. First thing I want to do is come out and just kind of square up the ends. And it's going to look like I'm making a square taper. But eventually it's going to be rectangled, so I'm working towards rectangular shape. Now I'm going to kind of bump this. I'm using the inertia of the bar, the weight of the bar, to bump back against. It serves as its own anvil, in other words. As it cools, it becomes firmer and stiffer. So I'm smoothing. So we've got relatively square end it was really rough on the end. It was just cut off with a hot cut. But the first thing I did was upset it, that ugly part, back up into the bar and then draw it back out to shape. And I may have to do a little bit of filing on it. It's okay if I do. I'm going to line things back up with the bar, and then I'm going to come back here and put some flats on it. And I want to line those flats up with the direction of the tool, working into the tool. That way I can index by hand. I don't have to visibly see. Once I glance down and see the general direction, I can actually feel the direction of the tool. Since I'm working farther back up the tool, I have to put the tool, the workpiece farther into the fire. The fire is stationary, but the tool I can move. And I'm not going to get it to super hot now, because the major forging's done. I'm just going to try to flatten 4 flats up a ways, and it's just an indexing thing for grip and lining it up. And since our anvil is kind of old and worn and has a few marks on it, I will pick my spot and work on that spot. Okay, so coming out, so I want to lay this horizontally and start putting some flats on it. And the horizontal is not necessarily level with the earth as much as it's level with my hammer face and the point on the anvil that I'm working with. So this anvil, like I say, it may slope off, so I have to work with that slope. Now we're going to this 90 degrees. 90 degrees, as much as I can get it to 90 degrees. And it's losing heat fast, but it's sufficient. Overlapping blows. Now it's starting to bounce because it's lost so much heat. That means it's not forging, and it's ringing. It's rattling and ringing. So let's get it hot again. And you might be wondering, how can I hold that? I can't hardly even feel any heat in the handle yet, because the fire, the direction of the heat is going up. Now it will creep back up the bar and get too hot, but right now it's not. So I'll know. I'll be the one that knows when it gets too hot. Wait a minute. Okay, since I started this way earlier, now I'll start this way and give it equal time. Where it's cooler, I'm striking just a little harder and then compensating my hammer blows. And this, what I'm doing now is not precision. It's just getting close. And I will do it light straightening. Lining things up. It actually looks fairly good. So now I'm going to cut this off back here and taper the top end. I may use tongs to do this. I may use tongs to do this because it is kind of crowding my hand a little bit with that heat. I said I was going to taper the top. Why do you taper the top of any driving tool? Say for a cold chisel. You ever notice a cold chisel, even when you buy it, it's usually been ground on a taper at the top because it's soft and it will mushroom. So it gives you some time, working time, before you have to redress it. So the same with this. We're not going into the spur making business, so we probably won't have to do this very often, but we will redress it, that is, but we will use this for other things, other jobs, making other objects. So this tool is a multi-purpose tool. We're just going to use it for that slotting the spur. Okay, now I've got to make sure I've got enough heat into that part. When you hear that air roaring like that, it means your fire's getting a lot of oxygen, the heat's going up. As I rotate it, I'm tracking on that last cut, and then now that I've got it cut on all directions, I just work my way to the middle. The cutter is coming up into the tool to the center, and there it's nearly cut. You can see on all sides it's cut. And these flats have been established. I'll just run them on up and then taper the top. And that'll be sufficiently long to where I can hold it by hand and not burn myself on the workpiece down here on the end. We go back in the fire, set this aside to cool in a safe place. Remove the cutting tool, the hot cutter. I remove that so that in case I accidentally hit my hand on it, I won't injure my hand. It's the workspace, the anvil top and face is all clear, not obstructed. These are the kind of things that we talk about a lot here in the shop. Keep it safe, keeping our habits up. Good habits. Okay, that's got a spur on the end of it from cutting, and we can file a lot of that. But I'm going to go right back to extending those flats out, being real purposeful. And I'm not going to a sharp corner. That's not comfortable. Now I'm going to taper it. It's still got enough heat. So now again, I'm going to work on just those flats a little bit. Line things back up. Where the anvil drops off or it's crooked or something like that, I just try to compensate for that. Not bad. Not bad. You see that I'm working towards straight. Just lay it down and look at it. So what we've got is let me get these tongs tongs where I can. We got a rectangular front, and we can index on 90 degrees by just holding the tool. And this smaller end right here has room to mushroom. And we got us a punch. And this is serviceable punch. It's not any high alloy steel. This may be 5160 spring stock, and by itself, without any heat treatment, it's probably sufficiently hard enough. But we'll do a little filing cleanup, and we'll be using it. We'll be using it and saving it here in the shop. So we wanted you to see how all this works, and how, if there's any other tools that have to be made, we will make them for this project. But we're glad you was able to join us here in the Blacksmith Shop. And for the Historic Arkansas Museum, I'm Lin Rhea. We're glad you was with us today.